First of all, my name is Sibongiseni Mgolozeli, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank you all for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I would like to call on stage Mercy Hombakazi Ngandega to review her own book titled The Dissonant Rainbow. The Dissonant Rainbow. Over to you, Mercy.
Thank you. So, my signal is not the best, so my picture might be blurry, but I hope you hear me well. Can you confirm?
Hi, Mercy.
Yes, I can confirm.
Clear.
Okay, thank you. So I'm Hombakazi Mercy Ngandega. I use both names, and from the Eastern Cape, Elletdale, and this is where I live in my villages. This is where I live and work. So I'll be reviewing today my book. It's titled The Dissonant Rainbow. So this is how it looks like. I don't know if you can see it. Anyway, yeah. So just a little background about the book. So I started writing the book in 2017 when I started living abroad in Europe. I studied my master's in agriculture there, in Ireland, in France, in Austria, and then I went to do my thesis in Makerere University in Uganda. And in 2018, I came back to the country. But as a young South African, I'm 32. So I didn't really know about the harshness of apartheid from a first hand. But of course, I know about it. My mom was there and everything. So as a young Black South African leaving the country for the first time, I go to live abroad. And my expectation is that, okay, my assumption is that, oh, in Europe, because there's white people, I should be treated with the difference that we get treated by in South Africa. You know, it's not, it's quite subtle, you know, it's not like, oh, you're gonna show up now and you're discriminated straight away. But there are subtle things that happen that make you feel like you're being discriminated. For example, when I was starting my traveling in the airports in South Africa, because I was doing my English courses, writing English ELTS. So it's my first time in the airports, Cape Town, Joburg, and you come sit next to an old woman and they just grab their stuff, you know, they pull their stuff close to them and you're like, wow, so this is my country. But anyway, I was kind of sent into a very deep hole. As a young South African, I was like, this is what our people went through. So it made me want to read more, and I read more, and I wrote more reviews on my social media until I was like, this is just too much information. Let me gather into a book. So I'm gonna just start about, just go through the book. So in the first chapter, it's titled The Discovery. So this book is not a fiction. It's a reality. It's very well, deeply researched. But on the first chapter, I just indulged in just make it fictional, because in my mind, I'm trying to imagine what happened when colonizers came, when they landed to my country. How did they say it? What did they think? And so I'm just making a play about Germans, Dutch, English coming, and I make a funny expression about how they're saying, oh, that land is mine. Oh, there by the river, that beautiful view there, that's mine. I'm fencing it off, no locals, you know. And I'm talking about how they're using labor, the local labor that they're fencing off to actually work their land, to build, to do their building and everything. And there are women to do the sewing and live with their children. So it's just something that's really played out, and it makes you, as a reader, it makes you wonder, your brain is wandering in this creative space, or this, it's like novelish kind of a thing. So that's why I go, it's like the expression.
Mercy, sorry to interrupt, we have a minute left.
Okay,
go on.
Good. Okay, and then I go into reflections on South African history, and then I go deep into what the history was, where do we come from as a country, how did we get here, and how did we get into colonization, how did we get to apartheid, and I delve deep in that's very much researched. And then I talk about racial inequality. So where did that put us as a country? The discrimination, the apartheid, dividing people by races, by Bantustans, dividing their schools and everything. And then I, of course, I go to a fourth chapter that says there's nothing wrong with being Black, because in these separations, there's always an emphasis, or the way that people are treated is that there's something wrong with being Black, or there's something wrong with being non-white. So I delve into that and I talk about how did we get into a point whereby we have this low self-esteem as Black people. It's because there was always something wrong, something said, no Black people here, there, you're not allowed in these spaces, you're not allowed to own this and that. So I go deep into that, the low self-esteem that we seem to have now. So I'll stop there for now. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Messi, for that perfect review. I'm not sure if Dr. McLean is with us yet. Dr. McLean, can you confirm?
Yes, I am. Good evening.
Okay, thank you. You are next on the program, and without any further delays, welcome and thank you for joining us. So now the stage is yours. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. McLean will be reviewing his own book. His full name is Dr. McLean Sibanda. The title of his book is Nuts and Bolts. Over to you, Doc.
Yeah, thank you very much, and good evening to everyone, and thanks for taking the time to listen at least to this review. So Nuts and Bolts was published in January this year. It's a book that focuses on innovation and entrepreneurship. It is based on my 7.5 years as the CEO of the Innovation Hub, which is the innovation agency of the Gauteng province. The book, in essence, starts off narrating a story around how I got to the Innovation Hub and the repositioning of the Innovation Hub from being just a science and technology park and an agency that was renting out space to an agency that then focused on innovation and mainstreamed innovation throughout the Gauteng province. It contains stories of entrepreneurs that walked the journey with me, that I was privileged to be part of. These include the likes of Makamisa Terence, Portia M, Portia Mgomezulu, there's Paseka Lesolang, and many others whose stories are captured here, including also Ntutuko Shezi, that is known for livestock wealth. These entrepreneurs provide their own perspectives in terms of what has been important for them to succeed, but also I think important nuggets around how to choose an incubator and the support system. The book also includes testimonies of other innovation enablers and also advice from people that have built businesses before, like Yog Zuki, that talks around what it takes to walk that particular journey as an entrepreneur. The book itself, other than being aimed at entrepreneurs and innovators, is actually an important tool for people that support startups and small businesses, because it provides, in essence, nuts and bolts in terms of how to do so. And it touches on various subjects, including access to funding, as well as how to build specific clusters. And in the book, I use the examples of building a bio cluster, a clean technology cluster, as well as a smart industry cluster. It also provides the vision in terms of how the Innovation Hub, in essence, pivoted and started to go into the townships to establish what is called Ekasi Labs today, and also the use of competitions to develop a pipeline. It's a book, in essence, that I would recommend for anyone that is passionate about entrepreneurship, that wants to make a difference, and also that wants to understand the journeys of other people, so that one, and also where to get the support. And for anyone that's getting into supporting entrepreneurs, it's a useful toolkit to have. It is available at all the good bookstores, Exclusive Books, Lutz, and the like. And I still do author-signed copies of the book, which you can order directly from me. I can be found on LinkedIn and also on Twitter, as well as on my website, sibandalegacy.africa. So thank you very much, Dr. Sibongiseni.
Oh, that was nice, short and sweet. Thank you so much, Dr. Sibanda, for that perfect review. And I will keep in touch after the meeting. I'm sure probably we have 1 or 2 questions from the audience. Before I let you go, I would like to allow the audience to ask 1 or 2 questions. Anyone? Going once? Going twice?
There's a question from Danny Lutz.
Yes.
Or Danny? Take it out.
So, Dr. McLean, are you still at the Innovation Hub?
And I left the Innovation Hub in 2018. So I've moved on now to infrastructure development, but I still continue supporting entrepreneurs in a different way, throughout the continent.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Danny, for that question. And thank you, Dr. McLean, for that review. So ladies and gentlemen, next in line, we have Nomvuyo Madlangana to review a book titled The Atomic Habits by James Clear. Over to you, Nomvuyo. You have 5 minutes.
Oh, hi guys. My name is Nomvuyo Madlangana, and I'll just be reviewing Atomic Habits. It happened to be a book that I read like a week or so ago. And the reason why I started reading the book, I just felt like I was just moving away from the normal habits that I had. And I just happened to see someone actually reviewing it online. And I actually thought, let me just read it. At first, I thought it was, like a normal book where you would read about habits and on what we as humans need to do and how we need to be programmed. And this is what everyone's doing, so everyone needs to do that. And it turned out to be like a complete different story as to the normal books that we've read, and we've probably felt like it's just too much for us and we can't keep up. But this particular book, it just talks about the small habits that we can change, like in our daily lives, from the time you wake up to what we eat, to what we talk about, to what we do before bed. And it's just like, you don't have to change like the big habits that this is what you need to do or anything. Like you don't need to like big goals that you need to achieve, but like simple things like eating what you need to eat, understanding what your body needs, and drinking water and all those things, and how it can actually change one's life. So I've started in my personal self, I've started with waking up like an hour before the time I usually wake up at, to the time I go to sleep, to switching off my phone before I go to bed, and reading before going to bed instead of checking Twitter, to meditating almost immediately when I wake up, to just doing things a little bit earlier and just changing those tiny habits. And I can't just impose that to everyone else, but if we really as human beings do need to change, we need to actually change the tiny habits before changing the major habits. And for me, it has worked for now. It really has worked, and it's based on a life story of a child who was in varsity and had this major baseball accident, and he was hospitalized, and he started changing the basic things that he needed to change after his accident and after he was in ICU. And that for him made all the significant changes that he actually started journaling about. So it's a real life story that I think each and every one of us need to sort of imply in our own lives, and in like with our friends, we talk, and with our friends as well, that we need to talk about and just make sure that we can actually, before changing the major habits, we change the tiny habits before we can actually just do the major changes. And if you change those small habits, it will lead you and it will lead your mind actually being able and being used to adapting to new habits, and just making those tiny changes in your lives. I'm not sure if I'm being clear enough, but it's a book that was written by someone. It's a bio actually that was written by someone who was actually had this major accident and started making those small changes that led to bigger changes. It's like small changes leading to bigger changes. And I don't think I could be more clear than that.
It was very clear to me. Thank you, Nomvuyo. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Miracle Jawane. Apologies for such a late invasion. I had internet connectivity problems. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, if anyone has a question for Nomvuyo, please take it away. You can just raise your hand. I see Frida. Frida has a question for you, Nomvuyo. Over to you, Frida.
Thank you so much, Nomvuyo. Yeah, my video is not working, guys. And good evening to everybody. Mine is not a question. Yeah, it's not a question, but a comment. Yeah, I really like those kind of books. It reminds me of The Power of Now when I read it. And yeah, I'll definitely buy that book also and read it because, you know, like you're saying, it's so much clearer the way you explained it. And those are the things that we're supposed to do to see the change in our lives. Have you ever seen that you can just go through the day and when you go to bed, you're like, man, what did I do today? And you don't realize. So when you start to focus on what you do, like the little things like washing your hands and, you know, like you said, waking up an hour before, drinking water, going to the gym, things like that, like going for a walk, those little things, they clear your mind and, you know, life makes sense. So yeah, I like that book very much. Thanks.
Thank you, Frida.
Thank you so much, Frida. And thank you, Nomvuyo, once again. Nomvuyo, your review was very clear, much appreciated. So we're gonna move right along and I'm just gonna make reintroduction. My name is Miracle, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure you see TMP on my title of the video. TMP stands for the Miracle Perspective. That is my brand name. Otherwise, we are moving on to the next speaker. And I can see her smiling over there, and she cannot wait. I think a book will talk to Nomvuyo's book as well, because it's directly related to that. And that's Tonya Michaels to review The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. Take it away, Tonya T.
Thank you so much, TMP. Okay, you are the sum total of your own thoughts. This is the main message that is conveyed in this book, which is titled The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. So this book basically explains how we can access the potential of our subconscious mind in all spheres of our lives, specifically to make us happier by finding love, to reach success in our careers, and to fulfill our purpose. While the conscious mind is the reasoning mind that we use to make our decisions with, the subconscious mind contains everything we have seen, learned, experienced, and it doesn't reason things out. The book says if you move with faith and you are open-minded and willing to receive, then the intelligence of your subconscious mind can make known to you everything you need to know at a given time and space. So basically, you can receive new thoughts and ideas and bring forth new inventions with your subconscious mind through things like dreams and gut feelings, etc. The author also indicates that the law of your mind is the law of belief, without doubt. And he substantiates this actually by using Mark 11 verses 23 from the Bible, which states, "Truly I tell you, if anyone says to the mountain, go throw yourself into the sea, and does not doubt in their heart, but believes what they say will happen, then it will be done for them. He also refers to that sleepy, drowsy state of your conscious mind moments before you sleep as the best time to plant new beliefs, affirmations, and like visualizations into your subconscious mind, because your conscious mind will be too tired to argue or to dispute these notions. He compares a person to someone like a gardener who plants seeds into their subconscious mind unintentionally throughout the day through habitual thinking. It is therefore important to plant or to sow seeds of peace, happiness, prosperity, all the good things. As I say, what you sow, you will reap. And as such, your world within creates your world without. So your thoughts create your experiences and your life conditions. So yes, once your subconscious mind accepts an idea, either good or negative, then it will begin to execute this idea. So it will work by making associations of ideas and knowledge that you've gathered in your lifetime and so forth. So to reiterate, the subconscious mind doesn't argue. It accepts everything you impress on it. So you must be careful. Just to give you an example, there was an opera singer, Enrico Caruso, and he entered a phase of life where he started encountering a fear of like a stage fright. And he basically took hold of himself and said, the little me is trying to control the big me, which is the conscious mind is trying to control the subconscious. So yes, let me provide my review of the book. I found this book to be very clear and substantiated with great applicable examples broken down into manageable tips that one can incorporate into their everyday life. I enjoyed also that after every chapter, there was a short summary, and also that each chapter focused on a different area of life, marriage, job, etc. However, some of the statements in the book seemed a bit far-fetched initially until the author provided some context. Though I do feel that some cases did require scientific research or biblical references to back up the author's examples and statements so they wouldn't be, wishy-washy. Just like an example would be that the author indicated that all diseases originate in the mind and nothing appears on the body without a mental pattern that corresponds to it. So yes. I also feel that the author could have emphasized that one also needs to take some form of action and not just laze about thinking the thoughts will magically manifest. But I do agree that cultivating a positive mindset and having faith is an important starting point. So overall, it was a topic that I've never really thought of or researched about. So it definitely taught me a lot. And I've actually started focusing on what I think and what I say to myself. And therefore, in conclusion, I would recommend this read to you all. Thank you so much, Miracle and Sibo. And yeah, does anybody have any questions for me? Or maybe something to add?
Thank you, Tonya, for such a review. Does anybody have a question? I see Mr. M. Dongo has a question. Take it away, son.
Okay, Desi. Okay, hi, Tonya. So my question would be, what age do you think is the best to start reading this book?
That's a very good question, actually. What age should one read this book? I think that this book, I would say maybe late teens to early adulthood, just because especially in your teens and your childhood, you're more impressionable. Even though this book is clear and easy to understand, I do feel like those ages, you're still developing your belief system, your religion, or just your thoughts about the world. And I feel that if you aren't firm in those beliefs, maybe this book might confuse you, because something I didn't add in my review was that there were some times where I thought he was maybe twisting the Bible to substantiate his points instead of, saying basically, yeah. So instead of taking the Bible as it is, I felt like it might have been twisted. And if you aren't secure in this is your beliefs and you know, then you might be a bit swayed. So I would say also, even though, yeah, the author explains really well, and yeah, it's a very clear book. It's not like you would struggle to understand it, and it would definitely benefit you. I mean, from those ages, early teenagehood, obviously, to learn to be positive and the benefit of what you're planting in your subconscious. But yeah, it is a very deep topic, as you say. And so I would say 18, 19, maybe university years, just so that you establish your foundation and your roots first before you start impressing other people's different ideas. That's maybe the risk with these types of books. It's also opinionated, so it's somebody else's opinions instead of maybe fact, you know, scientific fact.
Right now, we're moving along to the next speaker, and that is Penny Phakathi, to review The Power of Positivity by Tanya Kunze.
Thank you so much, Mr. MC. It's good to see you and the rest of the guys. The book that I'll be reviewing is The Power of Positivity. In essence, I think most of the ladies that have spoken today, they kind of spoke to the heart of, you know, they touch a lot in terms of what I've read in this book. Basically, what Tanya Kunze is focusing on the power of positivity, in the sense that, are you conscious of what is happening, or your thoughts and how you go on with life, or are you programmed? I heard that, I think it was, it could be Vuyo that touched more in terms of how when we view things that are the expectation that other people have and the perception that we live under. So what Tanya is focusing on is the 8 habits and how best can you improve your life and your thoughts. And that, of course, we look like our thoughts. Whatever that we think tend to manifest in the real life. And it's all about the mindfulness, of course. So yes, it is positivity and mindfulness tonight. So yeah, this one thing that I liked about this book, I could relate, because most of the things that she spoke about, although she focuses more on the neuroscience as well as the spirituality. And then she speaks about that part of codependency, that a lot of times we find that as society, as people, we tend to be codependent in such a way that we are living in this box that we find it so difficult to break as we go on in life, and tend to come across these teachings which taps a lot in terms of our thinking. So it is more about the alignment in terms of understanding who you are. It has a lot to do with the self-awareness, where one is challenged to understand you as a person in terms of who you are. You aligned in terms of you, your energy and the spirituality, and in terms of how you think and how you view life holistically. So this book was just, to me, if I could just be in a nutshell, it's just one book that actually intrigued me, because in all my teaching and all my sessions that I have in my trainings, I like to dwell more on the issue of the issue of alignment, where a lot of people tend to be, you know, ignorant in terms of what they think about the things that we carry in terms of the subconscious mind. How does it manifest in our lives? And how do we then realize that and start working towards that by managing ourselves in terms of how we do things and how we think and how we worry about the perceptions of others, because we literally view our own life based on other people, on how other people view us, or what do they think of us, as opposed to understanding yourself. And it even touches on the issues of relationship, that a lot of times we want to be in relationship and get into a relationship without understanding exactly who you are as a person. So I just like that concept, because you can get to be a better partner, or a better parent, or a better friend for that matter, if you understand exactly who you are, if you are feeding in that alignment space where you are quite confident and content with the person that you are. Basically, that's what the book is all about. Thank you.
All right, lovely, lovely. Very well summarized. Anybody with a question to Penny? We have Antonia Michael. Over to you, lady.
Hi, Penny. Thank you so much for that review. It was really good and very clear. I just wanted to find out about the book. It actually sounds very interesting and similar to the one that I reviewed. So I just want to find out, do you think it was easy to understand? Does he give you tips like that you can use, take into your life? Is it like clear, or is it a bit abstract and, you know, wishy-washy, or does he give you proper advice that you can use?
It's a very good question, Anthony, because I actually related to how you have viewed your one, because I felt like, apart from my take and understanding in terms of this whole perspective of the power of positivity, and I think she dwells a lot into the neuroscience in terms of how the scientific way that we think, or that we have been made to think in terms of how to tap into the inside, because she talks a lot about energy, which I think for myself, it's something that the changing of the mindset could be the start up, or it should be our point of departure, where we are able to deal with ourselves and deal with whatsoever that we have accomplished or that we have faced in life, in order to change the perspective, because it also talks about the perception that we live under, or people's perception, and then also as human beings. So I think yes, there is a bit of a washy-washy there, and that I could relate to, because I felt like, okay, this I don't think it's quite sufficient. It's suitable. It should be here in the book itself. However, I just gave her a bit of a benefit of a doubt in terms of her having a background of the neuroscience, that maybe her overview was from that science perspective.
Incredible. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you for the question, and thank you for the answer. Well done. Do we have anybody else with another question? I think we can take a very short question for 30 seconds. If not, you can just note it, and then we'll get back to it again at the end of all the speakers. So the next speaker to review a book is going to be Donnie Lewis, to review All Things Wild and Wonderful by Kobe Kruger. Over to you, Mr. Donnie.
All right, thank you, Mr. MC. Let me just get all my clicks right here. So the book I'll be reviewing is All Things Wild and Wonderful from Kobe Kruger. It is definitely in a different, let's call it, genre than the rest of the books that we've reviewed tonight. If you don't want to think too deeply about life and about changing your life and improving your life, and you just want some lekker entertainment, then this book is definitely something to read. It is not a big literary work that will astound you with the wonderful English and so on. The English is good, and it is entertaining. But not as some of the books that we have. So Kobe Kruger is a very good writer, I think. She is the daughter of Yami Ace. So some of you may be old enough to know about Yami Ace. Some of you might have watched some old movies, although you are young, like Beautiful People and so on. So she's the daughter of Yami Ace. So she has a bit of that type of storytelling as well, together with what should be like a documentary. So she's the wife of a game ranger. That was in the 80s. Then the book starts out with her moving away from where her other book is. I think the other book was actually written after this one, Matlangeni. But that one is where she stayed in a very isolated place. They stayed in a very isolated place. So the book starts out where it is very difficult almost for her to just adjust to this place where there's all these books. So they moved, if you know the Kruger National Park, way at the bottom at Komatipoort, there's Crocodile Bridge, and that's where they moved. And for her, it was overwhelming to have all these people around her. And so she basically tells her story initially of some of the work that her husband has to do. Now, I didn't realize a game ranger also have to worry about things happening outside of the park, like if a lion or an elephant goes through the river to the farmers and goes and harass them, then it is also his problem. And one specific incident where a lion attacked him is quite a big story here. And then a big part of this book is actually, and it's probably the most emotional part of the book as well, is where her husband finds this lion cub who's been abandoned by the mother. And that sounds like a simple decision to make, to look after this lion cub. But the rest of the book speaks about the impact of that. And so that's sort of the central story of the story is the lion's name is Leo, the original name. And she looks after this and they raised this lion just before he's a really mature male. And then they had to get him to some other place where she later visits him, and that is quite emotional for her after a year not seeing him, to see him again, and just all the reactions of this lion as well. You know, when a big lion gets upset, it's not like your dog that you can easily control. So that was quite easy, but it is a very interesting, very entertaining book. She herself happened to, many times she would find this orphaned animal, whether it be a warthog or a genet cat or different animals, and then she'll look after them until they're big enough to leave. Now, unfortunately, a lion is not so easy to just let go. So there were some more things they needed to do, and they needed permission from national government. So it's not a simple matter, but it is very, very entertaining. And it tells, and I was actually surprised about all the things happening and all the rules and all the happenings around the people staying in the Kruger. And it's actually surprised me that they would go for walks. They even had horses. I don't know if that's still the case, but they had horses and dogs inside the park. And it is quite interesting to hear when other people saw her, for example, in the veld with a dog and a lion. They didn't know, obviously, it's a tame lion, but just the people's reaction. Later on, they moved to Pretorius Corp, and they just tell about some of that as well. So very interesting. And if you're somebody that loves nature and loves like the Kruger National Park, it is a nice book to read. She apparently wrote another book as well, which I didn't know, only recently heard about. Okay, and sure. And yeah, so I think that's it. I think in total she wrote 3 books, but this one is, I must say, mostly around the lion, quite emotional.
Thank you so much, Danny. That was very well summarized, and entertaining kind of book, as you say, which takes us away from the deep thinking, where we are thinking about the future of our lives.
Thank you, Mr. MC. Unfortunately, I cannot put my video on due to my network, and I'm not in a conducive environment as well. I hope you don't mind. I've got 2 questions for Tonya. Question number 1: the book sounds a lot like Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. The question now I want to ask is, someone who's read Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, would they still find value in this book? Does it extend the teachings that Napoleon Hill already makes, or does it just clarify them, or even make them even truer? I think that I hope I'm making sense. Question number 2: it sounds a lot like the book deduces most of its content from the Bible. Would someone who is not a Christian still find it valuable? Those are the 2 questions. I'm not sure if the doctor got to answer my question. It was the doctor from the hub.
Dr. Sibanda.
I think it was Dr. McLean. I'm not sure if you were able to answer my question because my network was a bit unstable. My question to your book was regarding your book. Does it only cover how to be successful from if you are in an incubation hub, or if you are from an incubation hub, or does it cover success as in general as an entrepreneur? Thanks a lot, Mr. MC.
Thank you for the questions, Mr. Becky. So I think let's allow Tonya to answer the question. She has 2 questions, and we'll take it to Dr. McLean.
Okay, thank you so much, Becky, for your questions, and thank you, Miracle. Okay, so the first question, unfortunately, I actually haven't read Think and Grow Rich. Yes, I didn't want to delve too deeply into the spirituality type of books, so I haven't read that book, but I do think each author has a unique perspective, so it's always valuable, even if the books are similar. One author might explain a concept that you haven't read in the other book, and so forth, and maybe he will speak more to what you want to hear, for example. So it's always good to have a wide variety. And actually noted, I'm going to probably put that book on my reading list for next, now that you mentioned that it is quite similar to this book I read. So thanks for that. And if I do read it, I'll get back to you and let you know how the books compare. Hopefully you can also read them both and let me know. With the second question, the biblical, this is actually a very interesting question, because when I read it, I noticed he was referring to the Bible a lot, but he also refers to Buddhism, he refers to Hinduism, and to the different principles of the different religions. He does claim to be a Christian, and he obviously therefore uses a lot of biblical examples in his book, as you mentioned. So personally, I felt that it wasn't overbearing or taking over the book per se. It was just scattered every now and then with a biblical reference, maybe to convince the Christian reader what to believe. But I did read some reviews on Goodreads, and a couple of people actually mentioned they didn't like that there was biblical references, because as non-Christians, they felt that it might be a bit Bible bashing and loses the message of the book per se. So it's a debatable question. I don't know if I answered your question how you want to, but yeah, that's where I'm at this point. Thank you, TMP.
Thank you, Tonya. Well answered. Dr. McLean, over to you.
Yeah, so I think perhaps if I can start, with Antonia's last response. I mean, I agree with her. When I read the book, and I come from a very deep Christian background, and at times I was confused as to, is this really, Christian biased and so forth. So it's a very good book. It's, absolutely. So you can find the YouTube as well if you're one of those people that likes to listen as opposed to reading, although in essence, one would encourage actually, reading the book. I think to the specific question asked by Begisisa, nuts and bolts, it does cover stories of entrepreneurs that were not incubated. So its successes, it's in essence tools to be used by entrepreneurs in their journey. It's a book about hope. So you've got people that have, built businesses, people that have supported entrepreneurs, providing also their perspectives in addition to my own perspectives, which have been gathered in large part through my journey at the Innovation Hub, but also in terms of my walks into the rest of the continent, interacting with entrepreneurs. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. McLean. I believe that Begisisa was able to get his answer there, and everybody who had the same question got their clarity. Just on that note, I guess let's make this a culture such that every week or every time when we meet, be ready for that selfie pic so we can let people know that we are busy here. And who knows, we might have a live event where we hold this big book club, and it's amazing. We are all growing, and we get to that mission of having each and every African house with a bookshelf behind our backs, just like Mr. Sibongiseni. So I guess that concludes my task for this evening. Once again, apologies for being late, and I'll hand it over right again back to Mr. Sibongiseni. Thank you.